They aren't always screaming, they aren't always breaking things, and they aren't always toxic in the way the internet describes it. Sometimes, the most dangerous people in your life are the ones who are just comfortable. They are the ones who benefit from your kindness, pass time with your energy, and quietly erode your self-worth while you're busy trying to understand them. You've been noticing the patterns, haven't you? That gut feeling that something is off, even when they're smiling? Today, we are stripping away the excuses. We aren't looking for drama. We are looking for the truth. Because real power doesn't come from winning an argument. It comes from seeing the game clearly before it even starts. Let's talk about the first layer of this quiet damage, the convenience ghost. You know this person. They don't disappear completely because they want to keep the door unlocked, but they become ghosts the second your life gets heavy. When you need a hand to hold or a clear answer to a simple question, they are suddenly going through a lot. They are busy, they are confused, they are overwhelmed. But watch what happens when the script flips. The moment they are bored, the moment they feel lonely, or the moment they need a favor, they reappear like they never left. No apology, no accountability, just their presence, expecting your immediate attention. And it feels good for a second, doesn't it? Because we've been conditioned to mistake attention for care. But here is the reality. Care is consistent. Care doesn't have an off switch that flips when things get inconvenient. When someone only shows up on their terms, you aren't a partner, a friend, or a priority. You are an option on a menu they only look at when they're hungry. The moment you see that, the chase inside you has to die. You stop explaining why you're hurt. You stop waiting for the text that isn't coming. You match their energy with a calm, silent distance. Your time is a premium resource, not a clearance item for people to pick up only when it suits them. This leads us into the second section. The boundary tax. This is where they stop ignoring you and start testing you. It always starts small. You say you're tired and want to stay in, and they push you to come out anyway. You say a topic makes you uncomfortable, and they make a joke about how sensitive you are. You say no, and they hear convince me. This isn't a misunderstanding, it's a probe. They are testing the fence to see where the wire is weak. The moment you finally stand firm, they don't say I understand. They react. They turn the spotlight on you, making your boundary the problem. Instead of their behavior, they label you as difficult or dramatic. Most people break here because they crave peace. They soften the line, they over-explain, and they give one last chance 100 times until they eventually lose themselves. But listen closely. The right people don't need a map and a compass to find respect for you. They don't treat your no as a challenge to be conquered. They treat it as a guide to who you are. When someone views your peace as an obstacle to their control, you aren't dealing with a friend, you're dealing with a collector. And control always loves to wear the mask of confusion. They'll say, I didn't know it was that serious, or you're overthinking it. No, they knew. They just didn't think you'd actually hold the line. Every time you let a boundary slide to keep the peace, you are starting a war within yourself. True emotional power is realizing you don't need to win the debate about your limits. You just need to observe the reaction and adjust your distance accordingly. Heute Berset Song Umgangsprach. Manchmal Sindlut, einfach nur. Das sie fühlen sich. Womit. Dir. Sie sehen. Aaron Nutzen. Daraus. Oder sie schlagen. Mit. Dir. Einfach. Nur. Die Zeit. Tot. Endies. Schlimmsteren ist. Sie sehen. Nicht immer. Toxisches. Sie verletzen. Dich nicht lautstark. Oft passiert das ganz. Least durch. Winzig. Klinigetten. End. Subtle Muster. Die man. Fast ignoriert. Aber. Den Botchful. Merkt dies trotzdem. Hut wirst. Du verstehen. Worauf. Du genoaten. Must. Anna Drama. Anna wa. Sonder nimm mit. Coolem Kop. Den wast. Kom divan. When man die den sheet vc. Wirklich sind. Punkt 1. Sie sind. Near da. When he's in past. Sie verschwinden. Nigans. Aber sie sind. Genau. Dan beschwiegt. When he's drauf. Unkommt. Brochest. Du unterstützung. Sie haben Stress. Brochest. Du mal unklar ansage. Sie sind. Plötzlich. Verwort. Aber. Sobold. Ihnen. Langweild. Ist. Oder sie was brochen. Stehen sie. Wiederauf. Dermat. Als. Were nichts gewesen. Keine. Entschuldigung. Nichts you. Enkers. Fulties. Sichgut. An. While we're Aufmark. Samkeit. Oft Mitsuni. Zunig, aber echt, für Sorges best gondig, sie verschwindet nicht, wenn es ungemitlicht word. Wenn jemand nur zu, sin an eigenen, Bedingungen auftaucht, bist du keine, Priore, du bist eine Option. Wenn du das einmal, kapiert hast, hörst, du auf, hint, du erklärst, dich nicht mehr. Du passt in Energie. Einfach, an, ganz ruhig, ganz still. Den Zeitest, nicht zu Sichlut, near dan nehmen dürfen. Wenn in unserer danach, ist der Zweitpunkt. Sie ignorieren, den Grenzen, unschivan dir dan die Schuld zu, am Anfang sind, es Kleinigkeiten. Du sagst, du bist müde, sie weiter du sagst etwas, ist dir, unangenehm, sie Henwitz, darüber, wenn du dan malhart, bleibst respektieren, sie das, nicht, sie reagieren, genervt plötzlich, bist du die, schwierig, oder zu empfinden, den Grenzwort, zum Problem gemacht, nicht dir verhalten viel, nicken higher ein, weil sie kennen, streitwollen. Sie erqueren sich dan noch mehr verlieren sich selbst da aber, die Wahrheit ist Menschen, die dich schätzen, müssen nicht erst oberedet, werden, dich zu respektieren. Wenn jemand wirklich was ein Edirlied, ist den Nein keine Drohung, sondern ein Orientierung, wenn die Nein für den ander Neighbor ein Problem ist, dann geht im nicht dich, sondern Control. Und Control tarnt sich oft als Verwirrung, das hab ich nicht gewusst oder, du steigerst da in was rein. Wenn du den Agin Grenz me sagtest, bringst du in bei, wie sie dich behandeln, keinen. Control bedeutet higher, diskutier nicht. Beobacht, einfach und geh auf Distanz. Most people mistake this feeling for personal insecurity. They think, if I were just a little more interesting, a little more successful, or a little more helpful, they would finally look at me. But that feeling doesn't come from your lack of value. It comes from their lack of presence. When someone truly values you, you don't have to perform like a circus act to keep their attention. You don't have to compete with a smartphone or a room full of strangers. Care is intentional. It is the act of choosing to see someone. When you start feeling replaceable, the natural instinct is to try harder. You shrink the difficult parts of your personality, you become hyper-available, and you start auditioning for a spot in your own life. But here is the cold, hard truth. You can never win genuine respect by becoming a smaller version of yourself. In fact, the more you perform, the less they value you. Value isn't something you earn through labor. It's something recognized through mutual respect. If you feel like you're being tolerated rather than chosen, stop performing. Pause. Step back. Ask yourself, why am I working overtime to be valued in a space that has already shown me I'm disposable? Real confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being selective enough to leave the rooms where you aren't seen. Section 4. The Pull-Away Magnet. This is the ultimate mind game. It is the cycle that keeps you trapped for years. You finally get tired. You stop texting first. You stop making the plans. You create distance because you've reached your limit. And suddenly, like clockwork, they appear. They send that thinking of you text. They like your photos. They become the person you always wanted them to be for about 48 hours. For a moment, it feels like a breakthrough. You think, see? They do care. I just needed to give them space. But look closer at the timing. Where was that energy when you were fully present? Where was that warmth when you were standing right there? It wasn't there because their interest isn't fueled by love. It's fueled by access. Humans are biologically wired to notice when they lose access to a resource. They don't miss you. They miss the way you made them feel about themselves. They miss the safety of having you on standby. This is conditioning, not connection. If you reward them for only showing up when you leave, you are teaching them that your absence is the only thing you have that is worth anything. You are training them to wait until you are at your breaking point before they give you a crumb of affection. Real care doesn't need a trigger or a threat of loss to activate. It exists in the quiet moments when everything is fine. So, when they suddenly realize you're worth the moment, you walk out the door, don't turn around. Observe the pattern. Recognize that their sudden surge of effort is just a maintenance check to see if the door is still unlocked. Eventually, if you stay observant long enough, something shifts. The noise stops. You stop replaying old conversations in your head, trying to find the hidden meaning. You stop asking, why didn't they care? And you start asking, Why did I stay after I saw who they were? That shift is the birth of your power. You realize the signs weren't hidden. They were just inconvenient to believe. You gave them chances they didn't earn because you saw their potential instead of their reality. Clarity doesn't make you loud or aggressive. It makes you still. You don't need a final closure talk. You don't need them to admit what they did. You just need to move differently. You become a gatekeeper of your own energy. You start noticing patterns instead of listening to apologies. You protect your peace with a silent, ironclad resolve. That is real strength, not proving you're worth something to people who are determined to ignore it, but finally realizing that your worth was never theirs to define in the first place. Deutsch. Obersetzung Umgangssprach, der Drittpunkt. Sie Gebindir das Gefühl, ersetzbar zu sein. Das ist, echt fies, weil es so schleichend, passert. Sie sagen, es nicht, direkt, aber, sie zeigen, es dir. Du selbst was wichtiges, aber sie starren, nur auf ihr Handy. Du bist voll, aber, sie schauen. Shan linkst, nochter Naxen able. Irgendwann hast, du dieses Gefühl, im Bach. Wenn ich morgen wegwer, word sich für digar nits undern. Ndas liet nicht, darin das du nicht, gut genug bist, sondern das, sie, emotional gar nicht anwesen sind. Wenn dich, jemand, wirklich schätzt, musst du kennen, offentens offeren, sie zu werten. Wenn du anfängst, dich selbst, kleiner zu machen nur, noch irgendwie, relevant zu sein, hast du schon verloren. Wars Selbstvertrauen heißt auch, den Raum zu verlassen, in dem man dich nur duldet. Statt dich, zu schätzen, den, kommt, der vierte Punkt, der ihnen wahnsinnig, macht. Sie wollen, dich erst dann, wenn du dich zerschest. Du meldest, dich. Nicht mehr, du gehst auf Distanz, plötzlich, vog dem, nichts kommen, cna, plötzlich sind, sie aufmerksam, plötzlich schreiben sie dir, denkst, siehst du, sie brochen mich dort, aber schau, mal genau hin, wo, dies Energie, als, du noch wohl, investiert hast. Sie vermissen nicht, dich als Person, sie vermissen nur den Zugriff auf dich. Das ist, kein Interesse, das ist, ein Machtspiel. Wenn du darauf anspringst, du innen bei, dass du erst, dann wertvoll bist, wenn du gehst, dass du skinne, stay binding, dass du strain, sie hung, stay Zuneigung bracht, kein Anschackman, gutewan, wordies, ganstelin, dir, du hörst auf, noch, antworten zu schon, die sowieso, nicht, die fragest, nicht mehr, wareham, haben sie mich so behandelt, sondert, wareham, bin ich geblieben, obwohl ich die Zieken, gesehen habe. Das ist der Moment, in dem du den Macht, zerkelst, die Zieken, wherean near, schmerzift, sie wherean near, schmerzift, zu Klarheit, matcht dich nicht, laut oder. What end, sie matcht. Dich ruhig. Du brochest kein letztes Gespräch, und keine Ausbrech mehr, du verstehst dies, jetzt. Einfach du schätzt, den on Friedan, Anna is groß, und zu kundigen, du bewist, nemende mer, den on Wort, sondern du investest, in einfach, nicht mehr, dort, wo, ignoriert, word,